got a fun one for you today, and that is, why do we collect dice? Today I want to know two different things. I want to know, why do you collect dice? And I also want to know which ones you collect. The main reason for tabletop gaming, at least for using dice, is that many games will use the six-sided dice. So when I see like unconventional dice, like ones that are octahedral or like pyramid shaped, I'm wondering what games that they're being used for, especially like the pyramid shaped ones. I know like the D20s are used for like D&D groups, and they also bring their own dice sets to like gaming nights, which I think, by the way, is like super cool. It's like bringing in your own weapon and armory for an epic gaming night. And I haven't bought any dice myself, but I am in the market for buying some dice. So I would love some recommendations for some good high quality dice. I've actually been in the market for some dice ever since I saw the Crypt dice from Alchemical, which was a user I found on Instagram randomly. So I've been really looking for like some custom dice, either ones that kind of match my brand with like the teal, black, grayish theme, or maybe ones that are based on a character, like the ones from Alchemical dice. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but they had ones where they matched like the Necromancer, which was like blue and black and teal, which actually is very similar to my brand now. But oh, I can see why I like it now. Wow, that's an epitome. But yeah, those dice look really nice because it matches like a character, so it simulates that character, and even like the pattern looked really cool because it was a bit dark and mysterious, and it kind of had like this drapey looking ink splotty pattern. So I had no idea you can actually theme dice around characters like that, and I think it'd be really cool to find someone who can make dice that are based after like Katara from The Last Airbender, or like Moon Knight from the Marvel Comics, like some clean white and black dice after like Mark Spector, maybe even ones that are based off of a specific PvP tier from Mage, which was the class I played when I was playing World of Warcraft. I don't know, any kinds of like colors or patterns that are based off of characters that I really liked and enjoyed. I think that would be really cool to find someone who can make some custom dice based off of that. So let's talk about dice quality. I don't play anything technical enough to the point where I would need to really care about dice being extremely balanced and in fairness and like stabilization and all that. I know there's a whole niche and stuff for that, especially for like poker or like high stake games. But I've been gravitating a lot more with dice that are like thematic and more minimalistic. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's ones where like if you're going to a brand new home that's more of a modern industrialized feel, so like a lot of black metals, that sheen, and having like dark brown wood, that industrial like feel, I feel like it's the best term to describe it. That's the theme that I really like lately. So I'm all for textures and colors that match that color palette. I also like dice where you can kind of see inside and see all like the little ink spot textures or whatever kind of patterns that they're putting inside, and it also would make for really good lighting opportunities when I take pictures of them. So I'm kind of straying away from the solid dice. But again, I've never bought dice before, so these are all kind of factors that I'm thinking about at the moment. They are the factors that are pushing me towards buying me my first pair of dice or set of dice. And of course, they're ones that I would really love to be able to use in game, so I also want them to be a little bit practical. I mean, if you're gonna invest in a pair of dice that is the same price as the board game itself, you want it to match the price point, right? So what factors do all of you look for when you are looking to buy a pair of dice? And does the board game that you're using it for matter, or are you more of a collector, or what are other reasons that you buy dice? Let me know down in the comments below. But you know, some dice that actually were really cool back then was from a classic Cambodian game, which was called Cloud Cloak. In Cloud Cloak, they have 3 six-sided dice, and they're all based off of like different creatures, animals, or items. It was a crab, rooster, a deer, fish, and the 6th one, oh, it was the gourd itself. So that was what the game was named after. The cloak was the gourd. So in Cloud Cloak, you would have one dealer, and he would put dice on, he being my dad, would take dice and put it on a plate. They put a bowl on top of it, and then they just shake it one time, multiple times, what have you. They'll shake the dice that's inside the bowl so no one can see it. They put it on the ground. And then in front of them would be a mat of the 6 symbols that I just talked about. And what people will do is just place their bets on each symbol, or they could place it on multiple symbols. So I could put like $1 on shrimp, I can put 25 cents on fish, or like $5 on the cloak, or what have you. And depending on what was revealed in the dice, that would multiply how much money you would get back. So let's say I put $1 in fish, and what rolls out is 1 fish and 2 deer. I would then get $1 back. So in turn, I would make $1 but have $2 total, right? So imagine if you put $100 on deer, and what rolls out is 3 deer dice. That means you would get $300 back on top of your $100 back. So you just made and pocketed $300. I mean, we played with quarters back then, but it was a really fun New Year's game, especially when you can make like $5. That was a whole ton of money back then. You could buy like 5 bags of chips back then. And what really stood out to me in those dice was that not only do you not see numbers, but you see very distinct carved out and engraved patterns on each of the dice. They would carve out the actual symbol. So the deer would be like a green or red deer symbol, and like the fish would be like a blue fish symbol. So that was like the first time for me that I saw dice that didn't have the standard set of numbers. I mean, think about it now, retrospectively, it definitely would have benefited to have equally balanced dice, but were they? Probably not. And the last thing I want to talk about today is just some creators that have stood out to me, at least, for custom dice or for dice that are just unique and that stood out to me. The first one is from Alchemical Gems, and they have such a satisfying feed. Everything looks so good. One in particular was a frosted matted dice that had really nice soft texture. It's one where you can just feel the texture and the softness from the picture alone. And it looks so clean. They come in sets of like D20s and all the other ones that I mentioned earlier. They look like actual gems you would find in an RPG. Like one of those where you're hunting in an ice giant's cave and you're trying to find some enchantments for your weapon. Those are the type of gems that you would find in an ice giant's cave. It just looks so good. It's so thematic. They also have this Blood Hunter palette of orange and black, which I think looks really cool. I have no idea what the character looks like, but just from the dice alone, you can kind of tell. And also from the name Blood Hunter, you can kind of tell what the character would look like. And I love dice that can give you that kind of imagery. So that's definitely 100% what I'm trying to look for, I guess. And then one other creator I want to mention, I actually just found this, and that was from a page called Your Wizards. And Jesus, this page is so clean. They also have their own Etsy shop, I think. But they have this set of dice. I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is not the actual name of it, but the caption at least says Blue Candy. And it looks really nice because it's a dark blue and it kind of blends into like a black gray. They're semi-see-through and you can see like these lunar symbols on them. I think that might be the brand for Your Wizards itself. But I'm wondering if they also offer dice without like the lunar symbols. Oh, and they even have options for like this teal and black, which is perfect because it matches my brand perfectly. Which is perfect because it matches very closely to my brand. Now this one for teal and black, it isn't matted, but it's okay because it does work with this. And then the last pair of dice I want to mention are ones that are actually not matted at all, not see-through, but they're solid. But what's different about these is that they have raised edges, or actually, sorry, raised symbols. So the numbers themselves are raised and everything is black. It's black on black. And the texture of the dice is kind of like the same as if like a painted wall. It's smooth, but it has those soft, small little micro ridges that are raised. You can for sure tell it's raised. And just that black on black looks so clean. I would love to have a pair of those. And that's very unique because it's the first time I've ever seen any kind of raised symbols or edges. I don't know, again, if that would affect the balance of the dice, but it doesn't really matter to me. It's still aesthetically pleasing and I would love to have some of those. So overall, to finish this episode, I want to leave you off with some questions for you. Most importantly, I want to know what you use dice in. I want to know if you have any kind of creators that you strictly buy dice from. If you have any recommendations of some creators that I should know about for dice. If there are particular dice that you are always looking for. Or maybe even if you create your own dice, are there any like specific factors I should look for before buying any kind of dice? So let me know your thoughts. I'm super interested to hear about what you have to say. And other than that, I will see you all on episode 3.